Hey everybody, welcome to Burnie's Apple Box, 2 o'clock on Friday on the Apple Box Network. Gotta be loving it. Hey, listen, we have an absolutely awesome show for you. Today we're going to have Jeffrey W. Hagerman, DP, and colorist, and works with Janusz Kaminski, Spielberg's DP. And he's got some great stories, great advice. Great to hear his journey in this industry and how he handles it too. And like I said, it's the first part of a two-part interview. Next week, we're going to have part 2. So that'll be really, really great. Pay attention to it. Watch every bit. He is such a great guy, such a nice and open person as well. Very willing to share information. And like all of us, he loves being in production. So it's going to be a great interview. As a great bonus this week, too, we have Greg Flores from Grip Rigs, who I did a quick call on air before the show, and we're going to show that also. And, you know, if you know anybody, if you know Greg and you know Grip Rigs and gripsupport.com, you know he is the quintessential key grip. He has all the information, loves, just like all of us, loves what he does. And he's going to go through a couple of his setups, which I found very entertaining. So that was really good stuff. And I would like you to thank you for watching the Apple Box Network. And I would like to encourage you to please share this show. If you're watching it afterwards, after we're not live, then please share it. And if you're watching it right now, please share it with a couple friends you think might be interested in production, or friends you want to turn on to it, because it's a great show. This is for you. You are our community. We want to do what interests you. So please don't hesitate to write a comment. Ask questions during the show. We'll write down the answers. We're not live for the interviews, but we will write down the answers if we know, or we'll find the answer for you and get back to you. But we want you to know this is your network. Please share the shows, and we want you to enjoy every bit of it. So we're going to go to a little commercial right now, and we're going to come back with Greg Flores of Grip Rigs. See you soon. Hi, I'm Burnie. I own Burnie's Grip and Lighting, San Diego Grip and Lighting, and Los Angeles Grip and Lighting. You know, we pride ourselves on not only renting you the best equipment, but also giving you the best crews. And one of our core values here at Burnie's Grip and Lighting is that we give you the highest production value in the world. And remember, people used to say national, local. No, we present world-class production value on every set. We also know budgets are very tight these days, and you've got 10 hours to get what you need in the can. We move ahead, we move fast, and we know what you need. When you rent from Burnie's Grip and Lighting, you have a partner on your production for that day that is making sure you are well taken care of. So anytime you're in Southern California, give us a call at 714-609-3545, and we'll take very good care of you. See you on set. Hey, we got a special caller today, Mr. Greg Flores. Are you there, Greg? There he is. I love
Hey guys.
it. I love it. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. Thanks for
That's
having me.
awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for doing this. And you know, this is sort of a thing that I appreciate you helping me out today to do this, because this is one of the sort of things that I want to do with Apple Box Network, is to invite our friends in and invite our community in and hear about what they're doing. And of course, Greg Flores was one of the first guys. He was the first guy I had on Burnie's Apple Box back when it was a podcast. So it was only natural, Greg, you should be my first call here. And I know you're doing some great things with Grip Rigs, gripsupport.com and all that. How's your week been, buddy? How's it been going?
Everything's been really good, man. And just so all you guys know, I'm a key grip in the industry. I've been a grip for over 21 years. And I'm a working key grip now. So I like to support the grips out there. If you guys need anything, let me know. contact me on gripsupport.com.
Yes, and believe me, anybody who hires Greg hires the best guy in the business. There's no doubt about that. And I'm sorry I didn't introduce you as a Key Grip guy. There's just so many things I assume talking to you. It's just like I think the whole world knows you're a Key Grip because you've got grip rigs, gripsupport.com. But let me just say something too, and let me just tell you out there who are watching this right now, if you want an example of who to follow in this business, it's this guy, Greg Flores. Because I'll tell you, I knew Greg 20 years back. We worked a little job together, and you know, he was just a grip guy starting out at the time. And what you've done, Greg, is just phenomenal, amazing to me.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely, buddy, absolutely. That no one has done bigger than you. First, we know what Grip Rigs, that's hugely popular Facebook site, even more popular Instagram site. But tell me a little bit about Grip Support. What is that? What are you doing there?
Grip Support site where you can find anything around the world related to the grip industry. So if you're looking for a dolly, you're looking for a crane, you're looking for grips, videos on how to do things, go to gripsupport.com, you'll find everything there. It's really, the reason I built it was when I was looking for things, if you try to Google something or you try to search something, now with all the videos out there, video cameras and things like that out there, it's almost impossible to find what you're looking for in this industry. So now I built this site and you can find everything you need on there. That's what it's all about.
That's great. That's great. And vendors and suppliers from all over the world. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Amazing. So you got some pictures for us today. Let's take a look. You want to start with that yellow car? Yeah, there we go. Tell us about this. I mean, this is loaded. That's a grip truck inside the car right there. What are we looking at?
I wanted to talk about this one because this is the profile picture to Grip Rigs. It's been ever since I started the site. And I did this rig in 2012. What happened here was we went on a scout, and it was for Lenovo, the company Lenovo. They came out with a new ThinkPad. It's kind of like an iPad, but it was supposed to show that it's rugged and you can't break it, right? So what they did in this scene was they wanted to do a demolition derby where a car is getting hit by other cars, which is this car, you know? So the commercial was this guy gets into a cab and he starts driving through a demolition derby and he's on the iPad, on the ThinkPad. And as he's on the ThinkPad, they had one camera on the side there that you can see on the left, and it's facing him, right? And then they had another camera over his shoulder behind the car there. We had to take the window out, and you could see the ThinkPad with that camera. Yeah. So the reason there's so much speed rail and so many arms going through this and stuff is because this car was actually getting hit by other cars while it was driving. So
you mean with the hold on, Greg, for instance. So with this rig on, the car is actually being hit?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yep. And so, you know, a couple of times it's getting sideswiped and things like that. You know, it was all planned, so it wasn't going to hurt the actor or anything. But this is the reason that all this speed rail and all these arms and all this triangulation is going on here. What we started off with was some pipes coming from underneath the car. We took out the side door, we took out the side glass, the back glass, and then we put triangle truss, basically this truss system that you can make with speed rail, and we put that on top of the car and strapped that to the car. And then so that gave us a base, points above the vehicle, and we had points underneath the vehicle. So from there I made it so that you can adjust the camera up and down on the side there. You can, because when they tell you they want a camera somewhere, they don't just plan on it being exactly where they tell you it's going to be. So you have to be ready for anything. So when you plan it, you really have to think, oh, if they want to go up 2 inches, how am I going to do that? If they want to go to the left 2 inches, how am I going to do that? So you really have to think before you build something. And that's what, and it came out really good, and it worked out great. Everybody was happy.
That is really a piece of work, man. That is, it's beautiful. And you know what? I'm really glad you mentioned that about them not knowing exactly where they want it, because that is so true. Nobody has looked through the eyepiece before, and when the DP gets up there, he goes, "This is perfect, but I need it 2 inches lower." And being the
Right. And there's a
professional,
lot
you
more too.
understand that.
Yeah, and there's a lot more too. You're not just rigging the cameras. When somebody tells you you're rigging a camera, that's not it. Your monitors, you can see the monitor above the camera there. You're rigging camera batteries everywhere. You're rigging all kinds of things that other departments need. You know, they need the
Mm-hmm.
boot rig somewhere. So you really have to be ready for much more than just what they're asking you for. So
Yeah.
when you prepare a rig, try to think about all those things so that you're not stuck on the day, and the production can move a lot faster.
That's awesome advice, my friend. Awesome advice. What have we got next, Tony? Oh, I love
This
this.
here. So
Tell
I
us
was
about
doing a
this.
movie. Yeah, I was doing a movie out in St. George, Utah, and we were out in the middle of this tarmac, I believe they call it, where all the planes
Yeah.
fly. You know, and they wanted this rig on the side of a plane, and they wanted this biplane, to taxi down a runway, and it was going to look like the actors were flying. The actors were going to be in it. The propellers were going to be going, and they were going to taxi down a runway. It wasn't going to go into the air, but with the sky in the in the background, with the clouds, it actually looked like they were in the air flying. So it
Mm.
was pretty great. So the concept was they wanted the camera off to the side, looking up at the actors, and sky in the background. And so I had to build a platform. The reason I built that platform was because I was able to put again, about moving the camera left, right, up, down. You know, in this case, I put a piece of plywood so they could just go on a hi hat and move it wherever they wanted to. You know, and then it, the toughest part about this rig, thinking about this rig, was where were my points going to be to start off with, because when you're rigging off of a plane, everything is like really fragile. So I found the four major hard points that I can go off of, and that's around the propeller there. You see those speed rails? It makes a square.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my base. Once I started off with that base, I can go off of that. And then from there, anything that was hanging far got a little support. That's why you see the pipe going across the camera there. That
Gotcha.
got support back to the same spot. So you try to figure out where you need the support after that, but you always start off with the base. And this rig
Mm.
worked great. Everybody was happy. The crew was taking pictures in front of it. It was great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's anybody listening out there, that is some great grip advice right there on looking how to rig something and learn it. You know, Greg, listening to you, I love it when you do these explanations, because I so learn by the seat of my pants. You know, just like, oh, I think I can do it. I'll find the right stuff. Of course, I made everything safe, but boy, I wished I would have had some instruction when I started like that. Like you can
Me
get on
too.
Grip Support and
And
Gripper. Yeah,
that's another
exactly.
reason. Yeah, that's another reason why I built the site Grip Rigs and GripSupport.com,
Yeah.
because when I was starting, I needed that, and I needed all
Hmm.
that assistance, and
Hmm.
so that's one of the main reasons that I built it, because we need it, and we're gonna grow from it.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy. What's next? What do you got, Tony? Oh, what's this, Greg?
So this one, we're doing a movie out in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, and we go on the scout, and we go on this bridge, and they're telling me they want a 100-foot walk and talk with these actors, right? But we don't have a steady cam out there, and the floor it had bumps everywhere, so you couldn't dolly on the floor. So you can't dolly, you don't have a steady cam. What are you going to do to get a walk and talk? So to this both sides, and I see that both of the rails on the side are round. So I
Mm.
decide to use the rail of the bridge as my track. So
Mm.
so I expanded what I had. So this is what I had. If I was to do it over again, I probably would have used like steel pipe going across, so it's a little more rigid and everything. We did those cross pipes above to pick up some of the angle going down with it. But
Hmm.
honestly, this rig worked great, and the operator would walk and push the camera down the whole entire bridge. It was pretty amazing.
Wow.
and and then we ended up mounting that B board right under it for the actors to get a little bit of light, and we put that light panel on there. But this rig was pretty amazing. I was pretty impressed by how it worked, and everybody was impressed, and everybody was happy.
That is awesome. Boy, that's a great idea, having the actual camera guy be his own dolly grip too, you know, with a white
Yeah,
card for the actors. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it.
yeah,
That's great. And I think we have a little video of something you did too. Let's take a look at that. Tony will
yeah.
put
Before
that
you
up
show the
on.
video,
Yeah,
let me just
sure.
talk about the video.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
So
talk about that.
this video started out before Grip Rigs was created. It's one of the reasons I created Grip Rigs, because I went on a scout, and they wanted me to, the DP wanted me to mount a camera to the side of the car. It was to be mounted to the side of the car like a hostess tray, basically looking at the driver from the side point of view. And then the car on action is going to pull out of a driveway, and it's going to get hit by another car. When it gets hit by the car from behind them, they want the camera to come off of the car and float and see both cars and the action of the people that hit him from behind. They get out of their car and they rip the doors off of his car. So this was such a tough rig, because how do you have it on a car and then come out and go wide
Yeah,
in the same shot?
pretty
So I
tough.
had to figure, yeah, I had to figure this out. It was really hard. At first, I thought maybe I could dolly with it. I can mount a dolly next to it, or a doorway dolly, or a Western dolly, and mount that to the car and drive with it, you know, or something. I couldn't figure it out. So I looked on the internet. Nothing out there for rigging, right? So it gave me an idea that, you know, something has to be made out there, so that us, when we do these types of rigs, that we could put them on there, and other people can use them you know, as a reference to their rigging. And that's what, honestly, that's what started Grip Rigs, that this rig right here.
Wow.
And so what I'm doing on this rig is I ended up building out of speed rail a small type of hood mount that went across the car, and it was mounted on with one ratchet strap, right? And at the end of that pipe, I put a baby spud where I can mount the dock to a Steadicam. So the
Mm.
Steadicam is docked, right? And it's actually mounted to and on the Steadicam, we mounted gyros at the bottom of it so that it could keep it level during when it gets hit, when the impact happens.
Wow.
And so this is how the rig worked. As the car went back, it got hit. The moment the car gets hit, at the same exact moment, we pop the ratchet strap, right? We let the rig go. And at the same time the ratchet strap is popped, the Steadicam operator mounts the Steadicam on top and walks back with it as we float the rig underneath him. And then this what we're about to show you is a rehearsal of that scene. We didn't go as fast as we did during the take, but this is the rehearsal, and I want you to check it out.
That is awesome, Greg. And this is a piece of history. This is the thing that got you to start Grip Rigs. That's
Yeah, because
huge,
it's
dude.
needed
I
out.
didn't know that. That's great. Let's take a look.
Yeah. So that's the speed rail rig with one ratchet
Mm-hmm.
strap. Same thing there.
Mm-hmm.
We have Rudy on the side helping me out.
Here we go. There's the operator.
Going back. There's impact. We loosen the ratchet strap. The rig is now loose. The Steadicam operator is on, and he's backing up. Now they see the action going on. They rip off these doors. It,
I
it
love
really looks
this.
simple.
Let,
When you look
I'd like
at
to
it,
see
it
it
looks really
again.
simple, but yeah, go ahead
Yeah.
and look at it again.
Can we see it, Tony? Awesome. Tony says yes. Gotcha. That's nice.
Ratchet,
I see it. Yeah. There's the camera rig.
yeah. The dock for the Steadicam isn't on that picture,
Yep.
but it's there. See, you see, he's not on the
There's the hit.
on. We float it away.
Wow. Wow. And it's a funny gag, too, with the wrestlers pulling the doors off. I love it. That's
The
fantastic, man.
kind of want to ask me to do things, and almost all the time I tell them, I'll figure it out and I'll let you know, because if you try, you're not going to know exactly what you're going to do, and you're going to say something that's it's going to throw you off, or it's going to create or order equipment that you don't need or anything. So it's really better if when you're on a scout, think about what you got to do later, plan it out. Then once you have your plan and you envisioned it, because once you envision anything, everything works. You have to envision it. Once you envision it and it works, you know it's going to work. Then you order your parts. Then you order the equipment you need, the manpower you need, everything. And that's how I work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's how you work. I'll tell you, everybody ought to take a note on that, because you've had such awesome success and you've done such great things, Greg, with Grip Rigs and gripsupport.com. Absolutely, buddy. We're going to leave it right there, but thanks, Greg. And you know, you are welcome into Applebox anytime, anything you've got. And we're going to do a little more of these, and you're going to definitely be more on the show if you want to be. All right.
You got it. And if you guys want, just subscribe to gripsupport.com and
yes,
go from there.
Yes.
We put everything up there. We have Modern Mondays on there. We have all kinds of
well, Modern
newsletters
Mondays. Let's take a second. What about what's going on with Modern?
Well, Modern Studio Equipment is a company that was, it started out in 1980 by a Key Grip named Sino and his wife, Rena. They were, at that time, there wasn't anybody that was supporting the grip industry with things like welding and coming up with parts that we needed in the grip industry. So he was one of the first people to start doing that. And because he started doing that, everybody started going to him to make these parts. And he created a company out of it called Modern Studio Equipment. Nowadays, it's been bought out by another man named Jeremy Leach, and he's doing a great job with it. He's still keeping the whole family-owned business together, and he still has the son of Sino, and his name's Jero, and he has the daughter of Sino, Anush, and they're still working there. So it's still family-based and family-owned, and it's working great now. They have a showroom that you got to check out. And every week we put out, on Mondays, we put out a Modern Monday special, which is a special on grip equipment. So if you need anything from the grip industry, you can find it at Modern Grip Equipment. So go on my site, subscribe, and you'll get in your email. And if you want to buy it that day, check it out.
That is awesome, Greg. And Anush and I'm sorry, what was it?
Anush and Jero and
Jero.
Yeah.
It took me years to learn Sino, so Jero's right behind. So yeah, but it's great people, very nice, and I talk to them whenever I need something. You know, I give them a call. But great. Greg, thank you so much. Much appreciate everything for you being on the show and joining us. There'll be more. Have a great day, my friend.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Guys. All right, we're going to take a little break. We'll be right back.
Burnie's workshop is fantastic. Burnie's workshop is awesome. Burnie's workshop is insightful.
Burnie, in one word, passionate maybe. You can tell he really cares a lot.
Burnie is a badass.
He's a great teacher. He has great stories, and I would recommend this to anyone. Not only someone like me who's starting day one, but you know, I feel that in any profession, as you sharpen your sword, it always gets sharper.
I think the best thing about this is the access to understanding how to run your business, how to actually be in this filmmaking industry and make money at it. Coming to this workshop, I think, is what actually gets you the tools to understand how to do that, how to get out there and sell yourself.
I thought that was really cool. I thought, he knows all the tricks in the book, and he knows how to show that to us and actually demonstrate it so we actually know what he's talking about.
I really like the hands-on experience. That's something that you don't find a lot. That's something you have to go on set a lot to just appreciate.
I know this is lighting seminar, but it's not only talk about lightings. He also share his business experience, personal experience, and guide us to what we should do, what kind of personality we should have in this business.
His stories, I think that kind of say everything in a few example stories that he gives out from time to time.
I would recommend this workshop to anybody who just brand into the industry, people who just don't know the swing of it. A lot of the stuff they don't teach you in film school.
I deal with a lot of freelancers every day, a lot of peers that I went to school with, a lot of professionals in the field, and they all need to take this class because it puts you on the next level, on the next playing field.
Burnie's a great guy. Burnie's really authentic. Like everything he learns, everything he teaches, the way he handles himself, the way he deals with other people, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. Someone I've never come across before in the industry, and someone I hope to emulate and hope that there are more people like him out there that can help.
Hey everybody, right here, and let me tell you, this is a big day for me because I am talking to one of my all-time heroes, Mr. Jeffrey Hagerman.
It's a pleasure, Burnie.
All mine, sir, all mine. I cannot believe you're sitting here next to me in my studio after the hero worship I have for you and have had for all the years we've been friends, which I think goes back to maybe 2010 or something like that.
It's been a minute.
And dude, I just want to tell you, we're gonna take a look and we're gonna see the work that you do, but I love what you do, dude. You do such great work at such a high standard, and your attitude is so awesome, and you're so open, and you're so into training and talking about the industry. So no, believe me, thank you again, my
Definitely.
friend.
I'm looking
Thank
forward
you
to
again.
this.
Yeah. So tell me what you do first. What is your job title? What area are you in?
I work as a director of photography a lot of times in Local 600, and then for bigger names like Janusz Kaminski or Ed Lackman, those types, I work as an on-set colorist, or I also do Phantom as a speciality. So a lot of times it's talking about those lighting ratios that we've been shooting at 24 frames a second and getting that same ratio or achieving that same aesthetic look when we shoot at 500 or 1,000 frames a second.
Okay, so you guys are really talking on a pretty technical level. You really being precise with what
Dialing
you've
it
done.
in on that ratio and making sure that we're making sure that the story's needs are met, but also that the DP's needs are met in getting the shot and not having any flicker or any technicalities that could otherwise come up and be a detriment.
That's great, just getting a good, clean product the first time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that which is all of our goal, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
So, you got into that. How did you get into the business? Tell us your background a little bit. Did you always want to be into production, or?
Sure. I always, since I was a kid, knew I liked telling stories and I loved movies. I started out in university doing business school, and I got a summer internship where I was able to make some anti-tobacco videos, and that really sparked my interest in making movies and being able to, hey, I could maybe do this as a job. So while I didn't really know what I wanted to do at 18, I thought, let's see what this filmmaking thing has in it.
Yeah.
I got accepted to NYU and USC, but I wasn't quite sure I was ready for 6 figures in debt for a liberal arts degree.
Sure.
So I went up to Vancouver, to the Vancouver Film School. Kevin Smith went there, and I was a big fan of Clerks, a couple of his other movies. So I went up to Vancouver and did a 1-year immersive program, and that really showed you all the different facets or aspects of filmmaking. It wasn't as big on theory, it was way bigger on practical aspects of this is what the sound mixer does, this is what the first AD does, this is what the producer does. So getting to
really
see
sort
all
of
those
vocational
various locations, I was able to say, this seems really interesting, and I really got the bug then and got hooked on camera.
That's awesome. What year was that?
That was 2002.
2002, so really,
2002, yeah.
In my world, not that long.
Yeah, not
it
that
might be a
long
little
ago.
longer for you.
Yeah, that was Star Wars had just come out, and Lucas had just shot that with a modified Sony F900 camera. So that was the first digital
that was a
feature
big
film that we
deal.
had.
That was a big deal.
For me, what was funny is that Star Wars came full circle, and Lucas was really pushing for digital. And then not the most recent Star Wars, but very recently, they shot it all over again in 35.
Wow.
So to come full circle from digital back to film was kind of fun.
Yeah. And, what are your feelings on that? I know there's sort of an inevitability, of course, going to digital financially and everything else. You know what I mean? And even if it's shot on film now, doesn't it get transferred to a digital medium?
It gets transferred pretty immediately right away to digital, but I think Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was the first movie that really did a modern digital DI. And what Deakins was able to do there just totally leaving the film negative and going fully digital and embracing that, he was able to get looks that we weren't otherwise able to get, and that really kind of set the wheels in motion.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I still love film. I mean, it's 2018. I work a lot with Ed Lackman, and he really has a strong affinity for shooting film still.
Yeah.
So being able to make sure that a studio like Netflix or someone who needs 4K, that their needs are met while still meeting the needs of the cinematographer or telling the story in a warmer, more intimate way.
Sure.
There's a lot of things we can do with digital to emulate film, but there's a lot of film that just out of the bat falls in a very nice place that people remember and have a fondness for because they've seen it so much more.
Sure, sure. Let me ask you this, and not to put you on the spot, by the way, but can you tell if something is shot, if you see it in the theater and it's just straight, can you tell it was shot on film or shot digitally just by looking at the image?
For the most part, I'd say no. I mean, with modern DIs being the way they are and the digital cinema package standard being 250 megs a second, it's kind of always even on that baseline. I recently went to ArcLight and saw a 70mm transfer of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
And seeing that in 70mm was just amazing. You understand a lot of these shots that Kubrick got, and he was such a great craftsman, and then you see it in 70mm and you understand there's a visceral aesthetic to just a larger format that we can't get with a 35mm camera, or we can't get with a open gate, so to say. It just comes from that scope.
Yes.
So now that we have the Alexa 65 and we have these new cameras, we're able to tell a little bit deeper of a story or more interesting of a story and have another pen in our palette to paint with.
Yes, yes. You know, I had the same experience when I saw Lawrence of Arabia at the ArcLight, and it was the same exact experience for me. I had seen that movie when I was like a kid, you know, up in Tacoma, Washington, and then seen it on TV probably a couple times. But then I saw it in 70mm
And
at
it
the
just
ArcLight.
jumps out at you.
Well, you do, I think you hit the nail on the head. You do realize what the filmmaker intended the shot to be. For me, it was understanding that Lawrence of Arabia was about a sea battle. The sea was the sand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he approached it in the same exact way and how you get there. You know what I mean? Culturally. So using that sand, in my mind, when I saw it, that's how it really felt to me. You know what I mean? This is like an ocean pick on the sand with camels. You know,
definitely.
You know, so that was a lot of fun, and I think it really does make a huge, huge difference. But we're probably not going back to that.
I don't think we're
right?
going back anytime soon. I mean, I love film and I love digital. Right now, digital I don't think is really in its own right yet. Because when we developed the bare pattern filter array, the colored sensor, we developed that by Kodak in 1974.
Okay.
So all these cameras in front of us, the camera on your iPhone, and the modern digital cinema cameras we use, are all still trying to emulate an analog response curve. Because when those sensors were designed, they were trying to match, or they were trying to meet the film response, because that's what they were being cut in with, or that's what they were being measured against. So now that we've come so far technologically, I don't think we need to be beholden to the analog response curve of Cineon or of film anymore. But patent law being the way it is, we're still trying to get the most out of the cameras that we have. So that's why it really comes down to lenses and lighting, because the chips are pretty much the same at this point. I could take a good lookup table or a LUT for an ARRI camera and throw it on a Sony camera, and it's not going to look that far off. Why is it not going to look that far off? Because at the end of the day, the color science is very similar. Same sensor pattern layup, same filter array. So it's back and forth. I'm really excited to see the next generation of digital sensors, because then I think we'll be free of this analog response curve, and we'll be able to see a whole new generation.
A whole new opening.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. How would that happen? Is it a matter of the patents?
A matter of the patents getting to the point where they fall off, and it's also a matter of, I think, people really pushing it and requiring more of the technology. And we're just getting there now in 2018, where people are pushing the limits of these sensors. And they hold up, but I always say there's always more.
Yeah.
You could always do it better.
Well, there's always more in this business.
Yeah.
There's always a new way. There's always a new look.
Yeah.
Which is why we love it, why it's so exciting all the time.
Yeah.
There is always people pushing the envelope.
Really pushing it.
Which is why, too, you can become obsolete in this business if you're not paying attention.
That's the thing. I mean, I always, I've been fortunate to do what I do and lucky to be successful at it. But there's success you always have to temper a little bit with expectation, and always knowing that someone else is more than eager to do the job you're doing currently, and to not be too complacent and to still push yourself.
Yes.
No matter if that phone's ringing and the jobs are lined up for a couple months, you still got to risk something, whether it's in your framing or your shooting or your lighting, but never get too complacent, because I think that's when we really lose out on how fortunate we are to be on set crafting these.
Oh, you are so right, my friend. I think anybody who's a pro in our business, why you may have a bad day, a bad hour, a bad time sometime, everybody knows at their core they are blessed to be on set. And that's really the way I feel. I know you feel that way, and all these guys here feel that way too. You know what I mean? So we are blessed by being on set, and it's something that a lot of people don't get a chance at. A lot of people really want to be on set.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it comes down to just what you were saying. It's not about being complacent, and it's also, we talked a little bit about this before the show, it's putting yourself in a place where you have that pit in your stomach. You don't quite know if you're going to be able to pull this.
You got to risk something, and that's the funnest part, because without risk, there isn't a reward. And I feel like our society, we're always risk adverse and we're taught not to fail. But if you're not risking something, you're limiting your chance for success ultimately.
Yeah.
So it's the two go hand in hand. I don't like to fail that often, but when I do, I really make a point of understanding what went into it.
Right, right. That is the most important part.
And sometimes we don't do enough. If we're doing high-key commercials all day, you're not going to have a rap dialogue about what we could do better, because it's kind of done. But on the jobs that do go awry, it's important to take a step back and say, well, now that we saw how that can go south, what can we do to address or mitigate that on the day?
Right, right. And you've got it now. You've got it in the memory banks too.
Yeah, now it's fresh.
There's a little something to watch out for there too.
Yeah.
And go for it. I think that's very, very important. I think introspection is very important for you in this business. And you know, I've sort of seen it now, and that's like I told you, this is why I'm sort of doing this now, Apple Box Network. You know, and in addition to the G&E business that I'm doing, is because things change, and if you don't, this was an opportunity to me. I just saw this as live as out there now, so many formats. Nobody in my mind was covering our industry the way I thought it should be covered. You know what I mean? And so that's why I did this. Now this is a huge financial risk. It's like all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? This should be my retirement money, but it's not. Maybe it is. I don't know. You know what I mean? But unless you are brave enough to take some risk, you know what I mean, you're probably not going to do well in the industry.
That's the thing. You gotta risk it, and then people see that.
Yes,
they see you putting it out there.
They see that. You know, that 18-year-old kid who just left business school to be going to movie making, he took a big risk right there.
Definitely.
I mean, the family goes, wait a minute. You were in business and now you want to go to making movies?
Yeah, and it is an interesting business because it is a business. And sometimes in New York we do a lot with tax incentives, and we have a politician running now, Cynthia Nixon, and she worked on Sex in the City. And her come up was pretty much enabled by these tax incentives that afforded HBO and those production companies that made Sex in the City an offset. And now she's running on a platform where she wants to do away with these tax incentives.
Oh, really?
And I think this industry is really not mom and pop, that's not the right word, but this is really an industry that's based around small businesses.
Yes,
and
local
the vendors
businesses
that are supporting these major motion pictures or supporting these studios are small vendors.
Yes.
And this industry really runs on that entrepreneurial spirit and small business. So I think the tax incentives really go a long way to helping small businesses. You might see it as, why does HBO or why does Netflix need a discount? But at the end of the day, they're servicing so many private vendors. And those are the people that need the discount. And those are the people that any discount you give a studio, that's extra money that's going to go into the hand of a vendor,
into the
or
community.
a small business.
Yeah, the community
Yeah.
you're shooting in. You know, and that is such a good point, and that is sort of the point why I have people like you on the show, because, you know, and I do refer to it as mom and pop, just as a reference point for people outside the industry, but it is small businesses, and most of those incentives actually hit the ground. You know, you see people like, if they give Boeing an incentive or something, that's going to stay very much internally in Boeing. You know what I mean? Because they're so in-house. This is fragmented. You know, all these businesses. Chapman, who just had an event. Matthews Grip Equipment. You know what I mean? Some big call in there. KinoFlow, which is a local, while obviously worldwide, they have a worldwide market. There's still a local business in Burbank. You know what I mean? And a feature coming to town and ordering actually has a big impact.
A meaningful impact.
Yes, yes, that's right. Now I know we're going to take a look too at some of the stuff that you've done.
Yeah, definitely.
I want you to do it. I think the best way, let's just try this, is I know we got some stuff lined up. Sean has it lined up. I think we just let it play. We watch and talk. You just tell us about the shot, and if we want to stop, ask Sean to stop, or I will, and
Sounds
we'll
like
do
a plan.
All right. Yeah, we don't have many of those here on the Apple Box, to tell you the truth, but we got one now. All right, let her rip, Sean. What is this piece?
This is a short film that I recently completed called Dead Layer. So I was very fortunate to get a Red Monstro camera from Red Digital Cinema. That's their newest, kind of latest and greatest format
great. Jared took care of you,
large perspective there. So adding to that, I used some Leica Thalia lenses. So those lenses cover a very wide image circle, 46 millimeters.
Wow.
And we were able to do a lot of this at night. We shot up to 2000 ASA. Wow. And you can really, at that point, it's all about the negative more than the positive. People think, oh, we need lighting, we need lighting. With these cameras being as sensitive as they are, you need to start controlling light and being aware of the shadows and how important an errant light from a window could have on your fill side.
Sure.
You know, and it really, with these cameras being so sensitive, this was a project that really showed me, wow, how much more negative we have to be concerned about if we're going to go up to these ISOs. I know the VariCam shoots 5,000, and that sounds like a blessing unless you can't control the light.
Yeah.
And then you have some
and then
some
you have
little
a lot
thing,
of variables
you
coming
know,
in there.
Suddenly someone checks their phone and it looks like a, you know, it looks
the
like a 4K.
background's 2 stops over.
Yeah, so it's really, with this technology, it really does enable us to do so much more. But I always try to bring it back to the story and how do we root that in the story, or how do we make it tangential to have a reason to do it or a motivation to do it.
Sure, sure. Can you run that one again, Sean? In fact, on some of these, if we're on it, you can just keep looping them a little bit, you know, because it's such nice stuff. So
another thing that was nice about this shoot was gimbals are a big thing in the industry now, and everyone likes gimbals. It's all gimbal, gimbal, gimbal. Arri has a new Steadicam actually that I was fortunate enough to try with my Steadicam operator, Michael Howard, and it's called a Trinity Rig. So it's basically a wireless gimbal kind of on top of a Steadicam.
Yeah.
So the Steadicam, you can never kind of get waist level, or you can never go from low to high.
Right.
And with Arri's new Trinity system, it's a great application that you can set up shots that have that Steadicam feel, but still have a little bit more motion than you were used to be able to get from a Steadicam.
Right. And who's the guy who developed that? Carl or Kurt? Schumacher?
Kurt initially made it. Yeah.
Kurt, yeah. I worked with him one day out here, and when he had that on set, and it was before Arri
It was ever,
that
was under Sackler and his own thing.
Amazing, dude. That was amazing stuff. So you used that on here.
Yeah, and it was really a fun way to help motivate and tell the story.
That's
and as much
awesome.
as I like camera movement, it's kind of like you need to move a lot, but you also need the pacing of static shots in between. For me, it's too much if everything's just motion,
all
motion.
the time.
Yeah. I mean, I love what Bill Pope did with Baby Driver. You start out and it's go, 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 and then they're at the cafe and you get to breathe for a second and things stop. So it's always balancing out these cadences and the motion.
Yeah.
And as a cinematographer, finding that balance of how to best create a striking visual, but how best to serve the story too.
Sure. And you know, as a gaffer, you know what I mean? In all honesty, that's kind of where I get lost. You know what I mean? Whenever I've thought about like how do you select movement for a scene? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's which seems so simple when you don't really have to think about it. You know what I mean? But I know there are so many rules in there about like if something good's going to happen, you're going one way, right?
Way, yeah.
Is that a real? I mean, is that? Yeah, I know it's not a rule that has to be followed every time. I totally understand that. But you have a good cinematographer sort of has these things just in the back of his head, right?
Oh, definitely. We can never be in control of anything, but we can kind of provide the set and setting that we're going to limit the bad things and increase the potential for good things.
Yeah.
And I always like to make the day, and after we make the day, then do a little bit more risky stuff. You know, keep that idea in mind, but let's get the meat and potatoes first.
Yes, and the stuff we know we got to put on the plate, right? And now
and
you can
then
garnish.
Get the gingerbread.
Yeah.
You know, so it comes down to making the day and making the PM and the producer happy, and then still executing to a high enough standard that the director's like, wow, we got something special.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do we got next year, Sean?
Oh, nice.
Great. Let's take a look. Oh, tell us about this.
Well, I was on a Showtime series called Happy-ish, and I was doing good things with their gaffer, Steve Ramsey, and he called me up one day. He says, I have a discerning DP coming to town, and we're doing some Phantom stuff, and I was wondering if you were available. I'm like, oh, yeah. And he's like, well, he's more than your average guy. He's really got to be on point. I'm like, sounds like a plan. I show up to set, and there's Janusz Kaminski.
Oh, wow.
So for me, kind of one of my personal favorites as a cinematographer, to be able to be introduced to him and meet him.
That's a major thing. Spielberg's DP, it's a major thing to get introduced to him.
So I started working with him in 2012. This is a Cadillac commercial called Dare Greatly that I came on, and kind of he has a very stylized aesthetic that he likes to capture and work with. So be able to help convey that aesthetic from 24 frames a second to 1,000 frames a second was really something fun to do.
Wow. And then you two hit it off pretty well.
We hit it off really well, and we've been working on these commercials for Cadillac since 2012. Gosh. So this year we went out to Austin, and we did some fun stuff out at the racetrack there with a couple Airy 65s.
Okay.
And some drones, and just always really trying to push the limit of what we can do. And even though it's a commercial using those big format cameras, it just tells a different story.
It just, yes, it's so cinematic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really wonderful. So tell me, like, now if I was to meet Janusz Kaminski, I might not even be able to talk. I'd probably stammer more. You know what I mean? What was it like to meet him? I mean, I think that let me just preface that a little bit. One is, a guy like me, I mean, I've got 3-ton grip trucks. I go out and do commercials, maybe an infomercial, and just a lot of, industrial stuff, some small network stuff, like History Channel, things like that, recreations. Of course, I look at yourself and Janusz Kaminski and the work you're doing. You're on a higher level than I am, and I know. What is that like, meeting somebody that you've got a lot of admiration for, but suddenly you're put in a sort of a peer group or work together?
You still got to deliver, and you still have to keep their best intentions at heart. And if you see something that doesn't make sense or that you think's wrong, you still got to say something. I mean, he was crafting beautiful images before I was born, so I'm not going to tell him how to do what he does, but I can help him understand how a camera works in a new way, or add a little bit more spin to it, and that's the artistry.
Sure.
And if I was just as a young director of photography saying, I'm just a DP, I know all this, I wouldn't be able to learn that trade craft.
Right.
So a lot of this, in this industry specifically, I think it's tradecraft still. And there's an apprenticeship, and there's still an arc to it, that you start as a loader and go as a first or second, and you move up to an operator, and then you work as a DP, or you start as a key grip and you work as a best boy and you become the gaffer, and you see this.
Yeah, work your way up.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of that. And if I didn't allow myself to be humbled and say, well, I am a DP, but what's my relevance to Janusz Kaminski as a 25-year-old DP?
Yeah.
Pretty slim.
Yeah.
But being able to work with him and execute on his vision for high speed lets me learn more of the craft and lets me appreciate things on a whole new level.
Absolutely.
So it's constantly playing your part, but also seeing where your part is in the scope of what the film industry is. And I think it's very important to appreciate that trade craft and have that come up, as it were.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. So, how do I put this? Well, what kind of, I know he's a great DP and stuff. What's the workflow like with him? Is he, you know, like I do some DPs, I mean, they want the light there, they want it there, they want this size, they want that scrim, they want this scrim and stuff like that. Other guys would go, hey, light this for me, will you? So somewhere in between there, what is it like to work with him? How does he? What's his workflow?
The angles are all pretty similar, but the fixtures and the units are just a lot bigger. I mean, the things that you might do with an M18, we're doing with a couple Condors and 24Ks.
Okay.
So it's just the size is so much greater, but the angles are all there, and the ratio is still the ratio. A lot of people think now that we have, now that we have color correction, that you can just make a look from anything. But if you don't have the ratio there in the shot, I don't really care how good of a colorist you are, you're not going to be able to pull that look out of a low contrast scene and turn it into a high contrast scene.
Right.
So it's really being informed about that. And if we're in the tent and we're at the cart with the monitor and we have an iris there, the gaffer's there, we have the color there, we can make that look. And sometimes it's better to crush it in the grade, and sometimes it's better to throw a double in there, you know, and being all together and making these informed decisions together.
Then you can do it.
That's really when you have the time.
Yeah.
Because maybe it makes more sense to do a power window, but this is a moving shot, so now the actor's moving in front of that window. Now that's a more complicated mask or grade.
Yeah.
So why don't we throw the double in and make it happen? So it's just being on set and being able to communicate effectively, not just your vision and intention, but everyone else's that you're working with, because we all are a team.
We're all a
at the
team.
end of the tank.
We're all a team. What it comes down to is it's individual knowledge bases all working together as a group for one common purpose.
Yeah, and it's a very high level of trust.
Oh,
because everyone is having to acquiesce a certain level of control to make sure that that person does their job as well as they can.
Right.
There's not enough time in the day for you to do everything. If you're a control freak, you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, you ain't going to make it. Yeah.
Or at the end, that hair and makeup person you let in is going to have a hair down the face, and all your control was still for nothing. You know, it's always, you just got to trust the people around you.
So true, so true. And you know, it's getting to that level of professionalism that you are, because it's really funny. Your gaffer friend called you in for this project where you were introduced to Janusz Kaminski. You know, actually, no one vetted you except for the gaffer saying, oh yeah, this guy can do it.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the industry.
That's the industry. That's the amazing thing. And that is exactly why you can't be a bullshitter in this industry. You know what I mean?
No.
You have to, but it's always amazing to me how people get in and get to these great places because somebody goes, I trust this guy.
Yeah.
I just trust him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can do exactly what you want or not, but I trust him to find out how to do it.
How to get it.
Yeah. So that's one thing I really love about our industry too, and that's what brings the opportunity to people like us.
Oh, definitely, and that's what's so fun. Once you get that credit, once you've worked on that major, you can take your vacation and come back and you still, that credit's still there. You're still at that level. So I've worked in a few other industries, but I've never been able to find as much free time to do what you want.
Yeah.
When you're on, and you can deliver, the world's kind of your oyster.
Yeah.
And it's flat too. You can do it in Europe. You can do it in South America.
Sure, absolutely. Like you have. You work all over the world.
Yeah,
you
and
work
that
all over the
network
world.
expands, and you just get to do more interesting, fun things.
Yeah.
And it's all tied to making images.
Yeah. No, it's really that oyster, just like you call it, which is so good that we can go anywhere and do anything. You know, now you're a little different than I am because I'm weighted down with three ton trucks. I've got all the gear, which, you know, no complaint about. Certainly, that was the route I went. But I see it. You don't know how much I envy the guys who can go over to Europe and work in South America.
And there's always a niche, and sometimes gear really does make sense, and other times with the nature of the beast, there's economies at scale at play or relationships ultimately.
Oh, for
I don't
sure.
care how good that new piece of gear is or how much of a discount you're going to give me for it. If that relationship isn't in place,
it never even
that's going to
happens.
sit on the shelf. That's
Yeah.
never even going to get out there. So
Yep.
people really need to understand that it's an industry, and it's how you're viewed by your peers.
Yes.
That really makes the difference. And really,
So much.
you can become an asset, but you can become a liability just as quickly if you're not aware of the part you play in your local economy.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I'm allowed to do what I do by the people around me.
Yes.
Really is how I see it at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to do your thing unless you've got that large group that supports you and is subtly promoting you all the time. You know what I mean?
And as more and more people step up, I'm still I think of myself as a young director of photography, but there's an eagerness to deliver and there's an eagerness to say yes. And I always say you can take advantage of me as much as you want, but my keys need this rate.
Yeah.
And everyone working under me needs this.
Yeah.
And I'll take it on the chin.
Yeah.
But I just can't sit back and let the people that I know are delivering for me take it on the chin. So
boy, that's so great, Jeffrey. Really, that's so great. And here, that's a very, very good point, because I have to do that too a lot. In being a gaffer, owning the company, I've got to negotiate rates with the client for the guys. And for me, it's very, very basic. You know what I mean? First of all, the guys that work for me, I know they're nice people. So they're going to be nice to people on set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's probably the number one, in all honesty. The number two is, I know they're going to take care of gear. And of course, I'm very gear heavy, so that's going to be important. They're going to report anything back that's not working or there's a problem with. Anything like that. So same thing. I am willing to do that. I am willing to do some lowering of cost on my equipment to get those guys. So the same thing. And in fact, here's another aspect I don't think a lot of people understand when they get into this business. You are called upon to negotiate rates with people. You are called upon to go back and sort of do that business book for the whole shoot. You know what I mean? And guys are calling you the day after the shoot. Hey, what was my rate on that?
Yeah.
They came when you called.
Yeah.
They didn't come because you told them they were making a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's those relationships. That's a very human relationship, and those grow through time. And there's times when I'm honest with you. I call them up. I'm saying this is going to be, this is going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
And just be open and honest with people, because it is work, and we do it every day of the year. And I'll try to get you next time, but this time, if you can help me out, it really goes so far.
That's right.
And a lot of times you don't know going into it. Maybe the producers know, but you don't know. So all you can do is try to take care of them as much as you can in the beginning with a real rate. Or,
with a real rate, making sure the business is taken care of up front. Yeah.
And there's too much work out there, I think. It really comes down to you doing good work is when I can employ 50 or 20 people that are my friends.
That's huge, dude.
That's when I'm loving it.
Yeah.
It still might be a high-key commercial, and it just might be some salad, but I'm having fun because I know that the team I'm bringing up is eating. And that's good for everyone.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. And, it's just another work day. I mean, it's all averages for us. I mean, your rate, my rate, they probably stay pretty close to the same all the time, but not all are created equal.
Yeah.
And there's times where you're just so excited about a project, you'd almost pay to do it.
That's pretty much how my job is. I would pay people to let me do what I do pretty much every day. Show up and there's cameras and condors, and I'm like, wow, I get to do this?
Now, that does not constitute an offer either, by the way. Yeah. But no, exactly. And we say it all the time on set. You know what I mean? We're the luckiest people in the world.
Yeah.
And when you got to go into a corporate, like I do sometimes here, go into a corporate office building, you know, is just like, oh, there's your view of what it could be like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the real
And that's
flip
even
side.
the good news, that you have a job, you know? So, yeah, it's very, very much. Hey, everybody. We'll see you next week back on Burnie's Apple Box, and we're going to have part 2 of Jeffrey Hagerman's interview. So please join us, and we'll have a lot more great information for you. Thanks a lot. See you next week. See you on set. Have a great time. Cut. That's a wrap.